This is a P.I. podcast.
What's going on, everybody? This is Andrew with the Proud Investigator Advice podcast, where we discuss, just about everything, actually. Nothing in particular. We talk about stuff for new investigators. We talk about tips when you're on the job, get the job, new business owners, fears, all that kind of good stuff. I am your host, Andrew. This is, I think, episode 29. I think my goal originally when I think it was after I hit the year anniversary of the Proud Investigator Advice website, I was like, I want to say I had my goal for 50 podcasts by the end of the year. But here we are into the end of December of 2013, end of November. And I'm barely scratching 30. I might come out with 32 or so. I don't know. Maybe I'll go like on a podcast bender where I'll just podcast once a day. I don't know. Maybe for shorter durations. Maybe I can get close to that goal. Maybe not. We'll see what happens. I guess it kind of depends on my real workload where I make money, real money. So I hope you guys are doing good. Hope you guys are staying busy. It's getting winter season. Historically, that is the slow time for many parts of the private investigator industry. So I hope you guys are still staying busy, or you have a lot in savings. So on the agenda today, I have aspirations for this podcast to kind of make it a little more diversified, to kind of be able to pump out more of these things. And then give me time to build up like major content where I can then, maybe have like a news segment where I can kind of highlight news that I think is relevant to the industry. And I was scanning through, thinking I could come see these topics really quick. And I was like, man, I'm not finding enough good PI news at the moment to discuss. So, I'm all right. Well, I'll answer some questions that have been sent out to me the past couple of weeks. I love when someone reaches out to me through the contact form on the Proud Investigator Advice website, and basically gives me an opportunity to, I always say it, content, right? Gives me content to talk to you guys about, because sometimes I can answer a question that somebody else might have, or maybe someone else didn't think of, and they're like, oh yeah, that's a good one. Yeah. I'll add that to the repertoire. So, anyways, and then I got a story that I don't think I've talked about. If I did, I'm going to be really embarrassed, but, it's not, there's not, I don't want to make it a spoiler here, but, I thought it was one of the more interesting ones, in my career. Not because I got all this great video during the surveillance, but for another reason, which I'll get into later. A little catching up on housekeeping, catching up on what I've been up to. Basically, I've kind of been just working part-time, and it's I've written before about this. So if you guys follow me on my blog, you understand why I'm kind of working at a part-time capacity. But it's not only about, spending time with the family and, enjoying, life a little bit, it can't just all be about work, but, we don't do babysitting. So, my wife kind of dictates when I have availability to work, and lately it hasn't been a big availability. It's been a little slow for me, kind of on purpose and kind of not. But whatever. We went to, my brother and I and my, sister kind of planned a siblings, trip to Disneyland down in Anaheim. And, we just got back about a week ago. We, road tripped down there, me and the fam, and headed down there and met with, got to see my mom, my dad, all that kind of good stuff. And, I see him about twice or two or three times a year. because everybody lives in California for the most part. And I headed down with the brother and sister and their families, and we spent a couple of days. We spent a day in Disneyland, a day in California Adventures. Disneyland and California Adventures never ceases to amaze me with the amount of quality and detail they put into their parks. They've updated some things in Disneyland, which I thought was kind of cool. One of the cool things, if you guys watch Hell's Kitchen, and I shared this on my other podcast, but we ran into the guy Robert from a few seasons back. He's probably one of the heavier contestants ever on the show, but he was on the Star Tours ride, and I'm like, I know that dude. My wife, loves that show, and so she's like, oh, that's that guy. I know that guy. And we ended up being in line. When you get in the Star Tours line, they kind of line you up to the doors, like what row you're going to be into when the doors open. And he was next to us, and so she made some small talk with him. And then I asked him for the photo, and I took a photo with him and my wife, which he was kind of stoked to have. And it's not you don't run into famous people all the time. I think the last famous person I ran into was actually, maybe 6 years ago. I had just got promoted with First Advantage Investigative Services. I was a supervisor, and they sent me over to do some training to Florida. And I did all that. And I came back. I got, I'm in line to, go through the checkpoint or whatever in that airport. And who was standing next to me but Reggie Jackson from the Oakland Athletics? I think he was on the Angels too. And he said the reason. No, I don't want to get into this too much, but yeah, he was staring at me, and I was kind of getting uncomfortable the way he was staring at me. Like, I was like, why does this dude keep staring at me? I'm not famous. But then I got to looking at him. I go, I'm sorry. You really look a lot like Reggie Jackson. He's like, all right, just keep it down. He's like, I don't mind you knowing who I am, but I don't want it to get crazy over here. I'm like, yeah, no doubt. Now I'm kicking myself. I wish I would have got a picture with him because nobody's going to believe me. But being the private investigator that I am, as he was checking in, he had to show his ID, and I looked over. I'm like, California license. So I just wanted to make sure that it was, but it was him. I ended up seeing him on TV a little bit after that. And I'm like, yeah, that was him. So yeah, I know I kind of drifted off there. Famous people talk, but I guess I will get into the first question that I received. I only have two. This podcast isn't going to be huge, but I can kind of touch on some topics and eat 30 minutes of your day if you're on surveillance. Sorry, it can't be longer, guys. I can't. You guys would hate me if I did like 8-hour podcasts. You guys would be like, oh, that guy, man, he just thinks he knows everything. That guy, he's just crazy. So the first question was from Steve. And Steve, I'm going to email you, if I haven't already, when this goes out, to let you know that I'm going to be answering your question on here. And Steve writes, I guess I'll read it verbatim instead of just writing my notes. He says, what are some good canvassing pretexts to use, especially to find out the claimant's activity level? Thanks. And that's from Steve. So Steve, I'm assuming this is really just about, insurance work. And I've talked about this before. I went earlier in my career, I went on a big limb and I just tried everything. And, I got burned a lot because I kind of blindly went into it. Boss says to do it, I do it. And a lot of time it would backfire, whatever he had told me to do, or whatever pretext was used, or maybe I didn't sell it well enough, or whatever the case was. What I found over the years is that it really doesn't matter what pretext you use, as long as you can always refer to the residents. And and a lot of times, in my experience, I go out there, cross my fingers. I'm gonna nail something awesome. Like, I need to get lucky, because I go into this activity check, because usually that's what it's about. Or you've worked a surveillance, and in regards to your question, you work a surveillance and you've worked it for 2 days and nothing's happening. They're like, okay, well, you just got to go knock the crap out the doors. Go knock. Maybe you can't knock on the claimant's door, but you got to knock on the neighbor's doors and try to find out something. Basically, your company or yourself, you want to get some more time on this, or get some information that you can give back to the client. Like, look, we didn't get the video, but it's because he's been out of town. That's why. Or he never leaves his house. His wife is the only one that leaves his house, and very rarely is he ever seen, and it kind of, it defends your investigator in a sense where you're like, look, this is what we found out, and this is why we're not getting anything. It's not because we suck. It's because this is what the neighbors say. So so one of the first things I do when I go to a surveillance, I think ahead on this too, by the way, when you're doing your pretext, don't do something so direct. And I can't right now think of something so direct unless basically I got one for, if don't do something so direct that it might cause suspicion and it might cause that neighbor to contact the claimant and say, hey, some dude was asking about you and the questions didn't add up right. And he wasn't dressed appropriately to be, maybe the story didn't match up with what he was asking and whatnot. So think in advance, because if you do get time converted for your surveillance, you got to go back out there. And now you may have a suspicious claimant. So try to be forgettable. And I always talk about that too. So ask it in a manner where it's so nonchalant, where it's just like, you ask about the house, you ask about somebody else's house. You definitely can go direct. You can be like, I got a survey or I got a package delivery. When are they usually home? You could definitely do something like that. But again, I feel like the more you commit to a pretext sometimes in that regards, like you're directly, let's say the claimant's name is Joe Blow, and you go to a neighbor's house because you're trying to find information about your claimant, and you go, hi, I'm from, Travel Fast Shipping, and we're trying to deliver a package to Joe Blow's house. And every time we come to Joe Blow's house, I never get an answer. We've been here twice, and I don't even know if he lives here at this point. And they can go, oh yeah. No, he's there. He's there. In fact, they might even go, yeah, let's go walk over there now and go knock on the door. And then you're in a predicament if you're not prepared. Or they might, they're going to tell you whatever. But needless to say, there's a good chance they're going to come over to that guy's house at some point and go, some guy was asking about you about a package. I want to deliver it to you, and that might put the claimant on guard. They might be like, what? I'm not expecting anything. Or, what's the company's name that he said he was from? And then they go do their own research and like, okay, that is, that's suspicious. They might not even think you're an investigator, but now they're going to be a little more on their toes. So in this long-winded 5-minute answer, Steve, this is what I use. And it's not perfect by any means. Sometimes it requires a lot of luck. Sometimes you just need to get a little talky claimant, neighbor, where they're all about the information. I've done a witness to an accident, which is kind of like the gold mine of all pretexts for me. I can use it a variety of ways. So I'll take that, and if there's a vehicle at the claimant's house, I'll go to the neighbors and I'll be like, I tried to knock on that. It ends up being Joe Blow's house, but I point to the house the claimant says, I tried to knock on their door. See, my brother got into a car accident, and he was hit by a car that kind of looked like that. I looked, I don't, there's no damage on it, but I just know, did you hear anybody getting in a car accident over there or anything like that? Or you can take the same pretext, with the witness to an accident, say, my brother spoke to a witness in an accident that he got into, and he was driving a car just like that. And we're trying to get a hold of the guy, but I tried to knock on his door. He didn't answer. The phone number that he gave us, we ended up washing it in our pants, or his pants. So, now we can't even make out the numbers to call the guy back, but he could have swore it was a blue sedan. He points at the car or whatever. And basically you're just trying to get some, let the guy go, oh yeah, that's Joe Bob over there. Yeah, he never heard anything. He never mentioned any accident to you. Where'd that accident happen? And they'll get into a conversation with you. And then that kind of opens up the opportunity for more information. Like, well, is he, was there a good time to talk to him? Like, because I can't keep coming back out here to try to find more information about my brother's accident, or the accident that my brother got into, and he, hopefully something develops out of it. It's not a perfect science. The more people you talk to, the more opportunity you have to, some people are going to know more about a neighbor, and some people are never going to know anything about a neighbor. Like, I know a lot about my neighbor's activities, and if you had sold that pretext to me, I might have information that you needed to tell the client. You want to come back with something, right? I've done, gosh, even recently, probably within the last 4 months, I've actually gotten lazier in regards to the complication, making a complicated pretext in the field. So, I basically, well, I'll take that a lost dog pretext and I'll maximize that pretext, and I'll go to neighbors and ask for about a lost animal that I'm trying to find, whatever the backstory is. Your sister down the road, you're trying to help her find her cat or her dog or whatever. And you can sell it, like, hey, I'm just talking to neighbors because, sometimes neighbors will pick up lost dogs because they're cute and keep them. And, and I'll refer like, hey, have you seen the dog? You go through the pretext with a neighbor and they're going to go, no, no, no. Or sometimes they magically remember a dog that matches the description you're speaking of. That doesn't matter. You always just want to get the opportunity to go, well, I tried to knock on their door. They're not home. Or you can say, well, I was going to talk to them, but it didn't look like they were home. So is there a better time to talk to them? And more times than not, they're going to say something like, oh, Steve and Sherry live there. Yeah. Usually they're there when the car's in the front yard or something like. They're going to give you a little extra nugget to come back with. Now, if you're trying to like find out like, if you're trying to get like a plethora of information, just remember, I mean, the more you dig into your claimant's house, the more you talk to a neighbor about one specific person, the more suspicious they're going to get. It happens. So just keep that in mind. I mean, just a rule of thumb, try and talk to at least 5 neighbors, depending on how your pretext is going. If they're getting suspicious for whatever pretext you're using, then you need to shut it down and be like, okay, this is going to blow up my face. Something bad's going to happen. Oh man, I'm already trying to get rid of you guys. See that? No, it's not over. I don't know why that triggered. So witness to an access lost dog, you can even refer to, I mean, these are all very basic, guys. I mean, I keep it simple. You look for another opportunity if there's a house for sale in the area. Maybe you can even pretext the claimant themselves and ask about the house for sale, or the neighbors, or even if you're like, if you go to a neighbor's house and go, yeah, I'm trying to find out about this neighborhood, or I'm trying to find out about the history of this house that's for sale here. How long has it been for sale? Maybe the house in there, like, are these good neighbors? Because I was a little concerned about that house. And, I mean, do you know all your neighbors around here? And, you basically, you're just looking for opportunities to refer. I mean, that's really all it comes down to. For me, that's what I do. I mean, I remember working with a guy and he hated activity checks because he's like, I never get nothing. I never did. I go, well, I know it's tough to get information. You got to get lucky. And sometimes you get lucky and you get all the nuggets you need and you look like the champion of the world. And sometimes you just come out there with poo poo. You get nothing. And that's going to happen. But just remember, the more you reveal yourself, the more chances you're going to have of either pissing off the neighborhood or making them suspicious, or making your claimant find out. So that's that. Steve, I hope that helps you a little bit, or I hope that helps. You get a little more information on your activity checks. If you can find out when people are, when they're coming home, and when they leave for work, stuff like that, that'll come up in conversation when you say, what's a good time to knock on their door? When are they usually home from work so I can come by and speak with them? Just don't try to make it sound like you're just trying to rob their house. You know what I mean? Because sometimes the questions you ask like that will make it look like you're a turd and you're trying to, rob the neighborhood or something. Anyway, so that's that. Let's see. The other question I will read is from Bradley. And Bradley says, hello. Oh, that doesn't make sense. Yeah, it does. He wrote 2 different names down. He wrote Bradley and Todd. Okay, so Bradley or Todd, here's the thing. You say you're an inspiring investigator. You've trained and graduated from Stafford Career Institute. If I can remember correctly, that's one of those that has a private investigator program there. I could be wrong, but I think so. And you said, and the Global School of Investigation with highest honors. You're also enrolled at a college for criminal justice. He says you're looking to break into the insurance industry at any level to gain valuable experience, and any advice would be greatly appreciated, especially well, from me, I guess. You looked forward to hearing from me. Okay, so how can you break into the insurance industry? Well, some of the trends I'm starting to notice with different companies, just through basically word of mouth and my own experiences, is that, well, you obviously have your small ones, your mom and pops, and you have your big monster companies like G4S and ICS Merrill and Hub and what I think Veracity. I mean, there's also those mid-sized ones too that are up and coming. So, but each one of these companies has a different threshold requirement, like what they're happy with hiring with. So if when you're referring to the insurance investigation industry, if you're just trying to get a job as a private investigator, I know like companies like ICS Merrill, for instance, that have hired people without any practical experience, but applicable. Is that a word? Anyway, so with I gotta pause this. All right. I had to take a small break there because I had a knock at the door. And I'm like, hey, who's knocking on my door? So anyways, now I don't even know where I left off because I was in the moment. So I think I was talking about everybody has a different threshold. ICS Merrill, for instance, like I think I mentioned already, they have an applicable threshold. Some are like strictly experience based only. I mean, like when I got hired on, I had no investigation experience. I was in the military and I was in loss prevention. But the company that I got hired on to, which at the time was Omega Insurance Services / First Advantage Investigative Services, they were very pro loss prevention. So I would definitely, man, just talk to different people because, the experience that you're bringing to the table might be all that they require. Some were like, I'll take you, get right out of college and I'll teach you how to do surveillance, but we're going to start you off at a low wage. So, I mean, it's not going to be, well, I don't like saying it's not going to be that hard. Sometimes it is hard. But companies are always hiring. And one of the biggest things, with these companies that are hiring, some of these, like I said, ICS Merrill, they hire people that not necessarily have just exclusive insurance investigation experience, but they also might have a higher turnover rate because people don't know what they're getting into. They have a certain expectation about a job, which we've talked about, many times, where they think it's going to be 40 hours a week and they're going to get the days off that they want. And they have all these, they just don't get, they're not even through the hiring process, they still don't get the actual, the true expectations of a job. There was actually a guy that, was getting hired on with the company that I was working that I am working part-time for. Even though I haven't worked for them for a very long time. And he gives me a call because he's referred to by one of the bosses, like, hey, if you want to learn more about the company, give this guy a call. So the guy gives me a call and he's like, well, tell me about the company, tell me about the job. And I start to explain it to him, and man, he's like, wait, so I was told that I could get weekends off or take, vacations for extended period of time or, yada, yada. I'm like, listen, I don't care what you told or what you were thought. The reality is that in this line of work, when they need a case worked and you're the full-time guy, you're going to be working that case. I go, I'm a part-time guy. I can say no all day. As much as I want to an extent. You're going to be the first guy they go to that, hey, you need to get out there and work that case, or you need to travel, or whatever the case is. So, when they have those, unreasonable expectations regarding this job, they quit and they're gone within a month or two, and new positions open up. So always look, just watch those hiring boards if you're trying to break in. I mean, there's going to be somebody that's going to give you a chance, and it might be at a lower rate than, maybe the industry standard, but you got to remember you're breaking into an industry. You're getting your foot in the door. Don't come in there going, "Oh, I'm going to make you're going to pay me $20 an hour." Probably not going to happen unless, you know somebody, or it would be a rarity to start off like that in the industry. But you look at the upside. That's the main thing in this industry is you're learning skills to hopefully and eventually get on your own. If you love if you love the job, if you love doing it, and you really want to make a real salary, then you're going to eventually have to go on your own, because it's a long road uphill when you work for somebody else trying to make a decent. I don't say decent. You can make it decent. You just can't be. You're not going to be rich. Let's put it that way. So yeah. So Bradley, or I think it was Tom or Todd. Yeah, Bradley or Todd. I hope this kind of answers your question a little bit. I'm trying to think how I could elaborate on any more. You guys just got to keep hustling for it, not and just keep going after it. It just really depends on how bad you want it. So that's that. So let's see here. Do I have a bumper for something interesting like my thing? Yeah, let's do this. Okay, that was my cool transition. This is going to be about a surveillance that I think I've done in the last year or two. It's been a while. I'll just kind of give you the background on it. I get the case and I'm reviewing. I do my prelim on it, right? So I look through the data, which usually comes from like TLO or IRB. Or I think another one's clear. I'm not up to date on that stuff. Well, basically, it gives you like for the wherever the person's lived, where you run the social security number, wherever the person's lived, they've kind of, you can get more information in some states than others, but they'll tell you like the property's owned if the state allows it, and if the information's available, or if they even have, and address history, phone number history, possible relatives, all this kind of good stuff, right? And then I take that information and then I go and do some more stuff that the same stuff I do over and over again for every case, because it just works. I'll check white pages. I'll check business, see if they have any of a business licenses. I'm trying to go off the top of my head here. I'll check vehicles, if there are any registered vehicles in the area. Then I'll double check property records. I'll go back and check the address history to see if they, I'll go to the city and county or the county websites and see if they own those homes, or and then if they own the home, where is the tax information going to? Is it going to the home, or is it going somewhere else? Because that may indicate that they don't actually live there and they're renting it out. So just little things like that. And with this guy in particular, I had the address history. He hadn't claimed an address in like a year. So what that usually tells me is like he's not paying bills anywhere, like no mail is going anywhere. And he hadn't, claimed anything in a year. So I was like, well, that's always fishy. I always hate to see that, because that usually an indication that the case is going to be a little more difficult than I want. I want to just go out to a case and be like, you live there, let me videotape you. Let's go from there. Unfortunately, that's why we get paid the big bucks, right? Because it doesn't always work out that way. So I had, for information for him, I found out by checking business licenses that he did indeed have a business license in photography. And he also, I had a cell phone number, and I had a vehicle. I think I had a vehicle. I can't quite remember. I'm almost certain I had a vehicle. And so I go to the provided address, because usually that's where we start. If we don't develop a new address, I don't know if he's represented or not. But I don't remember calling his cell phone. I don't remember doing that. A lot of times I don't pretext cell phones. I absolutely hate it, and that's usually one of the last things I'll ever do. And when I usually call the cell phone, it usually has to do with a package pretext, and it's a very it spells trouble. I just try to stay away from that altogether. Anyways, so I go to the provided address and I've got a good spot. I can basically see the entire house. I can see it's a big property. There's a lot of vehicles, but none of the vehicles that match up with my claimant. And so I think the first day I worked 4 hours, I'm like, I can't confirm him to live there. I think I tried the phone number. I was avoiding the physical pretext because that's usually one of the another last thing I want to do, because once you give up your face, and the layout of the area, I would have likely had to give up my vehicle in regards to having it. He could possibly see me walk back to it just the way the neighborhood was laid out. And so I come back out there on the second day, and I think it was at the 4 hour mark. I knocked on I ended up just driving right up into their driveway, having to reveal myself. And I'll be honest with you, I can't remember the pretext I used, but an old man answers. And you know, I knew it wasn't my guy. I shake his hand and I'm like, hey, I'm looking. I can't remember the pretext. I'm sorry. I'm really ruining my story here. And there's I'm talking to him, but there's a guy behind him that was a little bit younger. And I says, oh, is that your son back there? And he's like, no, it's some other guy. And when I was all said and done, I shook the guy's hand, asked for his name. Oh, nice to meet you, so-and-so. And my name's Joe. I had come to the conclusion that the claimant did not live there. It was just a hunch. I mean, I didn't have anything in stone, but I was like, this is not looking good. And being on their property, I was able to see even more that there was, I mean, vehicles that were behind the house and stuff. I could see that even all the vehicles there that didn't match up. So I was just, things aren't matching up here. And sometimes I have the uncanny ability just to. I mean, you just do it long enough, you just know sometimes. And then when you're wrong, you're pleasantly surprised. But more times than not, you're right, or I'm right. And so anyway, so I had a list of addresses just to double check. I called the client. I'm like, look, I'm going to just do my due diligence on this and just start spot checking some of these other residents. I'm not going to knock on every door, but I'm just going to go see if his vehicle's sitting out on one of these. Maybe some family member lives there. I don't know. So I started to drive around. It was far away, it was like, I don't know, like we're talking different cities here. So I drive to this different city and I'm spot checking these way out in the sticks, out in farmland, checking these houses. I'm like driving by, okay, no vehicles matching. And go to another one, no vehicle matches. I mean, I'm just grasping at straws, and I honestly, at that point, I felt like I was probably going to be defeated on this one. Just short of getting them. I don't remember if I called the cell phone or not. They might not have been answering the cell phone. I'll be honest, I don't remember. So I'm driving. I just got done leaving a house and we're in the farmland here. And I come up to an intersection. There's a little convenience store to my right. And I'm waiting for this van or car, I can't remember what it was, to do a turn so I could turn out. And as the vehicle approaches, I'm like, that's the same kind of car as the guy I'm looking for. I'm like, yeah, okay. And then as the car passes, I could see so-and-so photography and a phone number right on the vehicle. I'm like, are you kidding me? I'm looking at my paper. I'm like, what? The phone number? That's my expletive guy. That's my claimant. Are you freaking kidding me? That was ridiculous. The guy goes right to the gas station that I'm at the stoplight, goes to the gas station. So I pull in there. I'm like, holy moly, get my spy cam out, whatever, going to the store. He was in there for a short period of time. So I'm like booking back to my car. I'm like, I just want to make sure I got the video of his face at least, if something went bad, I had something to take to the client. So he leaves and he goes to a bunch of locations. He goes to like the I don't know, Office Depot or some rather. He goes to all these different locations. Then he goes to a house that's literally like 20 or 30 minutes from the original location that I found him at. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like I would have never found this guy. And the house is totally secluded. Like you can't even see it from the main road. And yeah, it's just ridiculous. So he eventually leaves and I follow him some more places. He doesn't have a job really, right? Because he's on work comp or just, I don't know what it was. So he's, but people don't, really have a place to go. They just kind of wander. And that's what this guy did. He just wandered around. I just videotaped him all day long. And at the end of the day, I'm like, hey, I think I got this guy to a new address. I'm talking to the client, of course. And I go, I'll be honest with you, I was as lucky as you know what. I mean, it was ridiculous. There's other than just going to these previous addresses, that was the only due diligence that I was doing. And this guy magically appears in front of me. And if it wasn't for the small bits of information, I would never would have pieced it together. If I didn't have a license plate and I didn't have a cell phone number, I probably wouldn't have put it together. Those, it was just crazy. So, the client goes, well, better to be lucky than to be good sometimes. And I was like, oh, yeah, I guess I just like to be good, but those lucky things come far and few between. So yeah, I got video of the guy and I got him doing activity and stuff. And I can't believe I held on to him as long as I did that day. I think I finally just left him at that house, after following him to a bunch of different places. And what I think it really did for me, I didn't blow the video probably wasn't going to squash his claim or anything. But it would just show the client that, I always felt like I'm building points with the client, and that's what I felt like I did there. I told him there was no way I would have found this guy without this happening. Like, unless this guy just gave me his address, and a package pretext. But if he doesn't answer his cell phone, you can't even get that. So it would have been, in the time allowed I wouldn't have been able to get it. I mean, that's usually how it goes. Now, if you really dig into things and you're knocking on doors, but again, you're trying to be, and when I'm saying that, I'm processing this out loud in my head as I'm talking on the microphone here, but I'm sure if I spent, maybe 40 hours of digging and, pretexting relatives and, trying to find it that way, I'm sure I could find out. But a lot of times in this industry is you get a lot amount of time and you're trying to fit everything into that time. So, and usually people get pissed off when you start calling a little bit too much out of the guideline network of how things are done. Not always, but sometimes. So anyways, that's how I got lucky as heck and found a claimant that I should have never found. And, that's that story. So this episode is brought to you by Investigator Marketing at investigatormarketing.com. They've got a new deal. I spoke with Ruben, actually, while I was on my way to Disneyland. And, not Disneyland, but California. And we were discussing a new promotion for the end of November. Well, the rest of November here, as I will likely post this in November, and which would carry on to the month of December. This is for 2013. So the rest of November of 2013 and December of 2013. And the promotion for this month will be by a 5 to 10 page website. And you will get the SEO, the search engine optimization, which is a $250 value. You will get that for free. Now, in the previous promotion that we had, it was I think it was 15% off the services. I think it was a website. I can't remember now. But he said the only catch is now we're not going to be able to combine offers. So this offer is independent of any other offer, and that's how it'll likely be going forward with other promotions. So what are you going to get with with this SEO? Well, let me tell you, building a website, you might say, oh, I'm going to build my own website. It's not that easy. I mean, other than being a place for, someone has your website on, you have your website on your business card, you hand it to somebody, or hey, go to my website at .com. They might not ever find it. Now, one of the more important things that I think is you got to be found. If you're not found, then you're not getting as much out of the website as you want, at least as I would want. I would want more. And I can tell you, it took me a long time to make it to the first page of Google. And that was me doing it all by myself. And I'm going to tell you something. I spent more time than a lot of people trying to figure that out, how to optimize a website to get there, to do the search engine optimization. Well, so when I talked to Ruben, I said, well, what are they going to get out of this SEO? Like, why, what's the value? Why is this such a good deal? Oh, Ruben says he's going to optimize your header. He's going to make sure it's keyword rich to where it all syncs up with your desired keyword. We always talk about it now. If I'm in Tacoma and I want to be found, I know through my research that Tacoma Private Investigator is what people search for, or Private Investigator in Tacoma, or something to that effect, a phrase that is commonly used to search into Google. Well, I want my website optimized for that search term. And there's several ways to do it. And, one of the other things they also adds in there is the content. So they will put the content in the website for you, and it'll be optimized to be found in Google. I thought that was a pretty generous offer. So you have to purchase a 5 to 10 page website to get that free search engine optimization within your website. Otherwise, it costs you $250 according to Ruben. That's why it's so valuable, and that is the deal of the day from Investigator Marketing. I give them a call. You know that they have 6 months interest-free financing through PayPal. So what a great opportunity to not have to, gosh, man, if I could just have you guys sit there and watch all the pain that I had to go through. And I was even working on websites when I was building mine. So it was like I was working on just websites in general. So I was learning at probably at a more rapid pace. But even then, it took me a long time to figure it all out. And on top of that, Google's always changing their algorithm. I know this is a lot of fancy talk, but they change their algorithm to where certain websites will be listed higher than other websites for different reasons, according to their algorithm. And there's just general guidelines in general when general guidelines in general. See that? Those are just fancy sentences, fancy words. But they just have, different things work for during a specific time, to have things optimized, to have things get listed. So give Ruben over at Investigator Marketing a call and let his team help you. Okay. And that's my spiel for investigatormarketing.com. Also, it's a 12-hour drive from Washington, where I'm at, to Northern California, where my family resides. And can you imagine how much time I had on my hands to listen to stuff? Now, I can't say that I listened to books all the way down. I think I started to listen to one of the books, but I ended up switching to podcasts. I wanted to catch up on some of them. I can't. I mean, gosh, all these long drives as a private investigator, you got to have something to listen to. So if you're out of podcasts, you go listen to Audible. Audible.com, where they got like a bajillion books. Don't quote me on that, but it's somewhere around that number. They have a ton of books to listen to. I can't say that I found a lot of investigating books on there. For some reason, that's an underserved market, but there's a lot of business books on there that I have listened to. And they give them this great offer. If you want to support the Private Investigator Advice podcast, go over to Audible and sign up for their services. You get a free book when you sign up. And after 30 days, if you don't like it, you just cancel, or cancel before that. Doesn't matter. And you can go to audibletrial.com/PI advice podcast. And you'll get that free offer, and you'll be on your way to getting tons of knowledge or entertainment while you drive. One of my favorite things to do is I used to just use headphones when I'm driving, even though I think that's illegal. But I would put it on Bluetooth. I'd connect it to my car, and I just listen to it through the radio, essentially, and makes things a little more enjoyable. So, you know what? It's 44 minutes into this. I didn't even think I was going to go 20. So, You're welcome. No, I'm just kidding. I'm glad I made it that long. I probably talked longer on certain things than I probably that I didn't think I was going to talk that long for. So, always, guys, if you're interested in something, if there's a question that I can answer, go to the Pride Investigator Advice website, go to the contact page, and ask your question. I will either answer it to you personally or through an email, or I will answer in the podcast for all to hear. If there's something specific you just don't want talked about on the podcast, no problem. I won't do that. And that's about it. So I'm going to go ahead and get on out of here. I'm debating on changing the music, believe it or not. I had to change the music from my other podcast, the American Dad podcast, because I didn't want to get in trouble for using I Am a Real American music on there. I'm thinking about it. I don't know. I like this jingle, but I mean, we've been listening to this for like over a year now, right? So yeah, that wraps it up, you guys. Thank you for listening. And if you have any questions, contact me on the Private Investigator page. If you have a video you want made, I've got ideas, but sometimes I just want to hear your ideas. Just give me that. Give me that on the Private Investigator Advice contact page and let me know. Other than that, guys, I will talk to you soon. Have a great day. Hey, thanks again for watching the video. I would highly recommend going down there and clicking that subscribe button. There's a ton of videos always coming out. Sometimes they're podcast videos, sometimes they're review videos, sometimes they're tip videos, you name it. I'm making videos. So if you would, just go ahead and click that thing, click that button. Did you click it yet? No? Is your mouse broken? Are you using one of those touch pads? Listen, I don't have all day, but I can sit here a little bit longer if you want. All right then. Awkward. Thanks for watching.